Okay. Hi, everybody. Welcome to Coffee Coaching. I want to thank our sponsors today. We have, I can never say that word. Sorry. I'm like not with it today. For some reason, my mouse is not working. So we have La Baguette Bakery and Catering, and we also have Tres Sorel Dulce Ice Cream, which is one of our sponsors for the year for coffee coaching. I want to introduce Jim and Kate from IMD4. They will be doing our presentation today. Welcome, Jim and Kate.
Hi.
And you can go ahead.
All right. Well, I'm Jim Suhre, and Kate's here in another part of this spacious studio, as you can see here. Actually, I'm in front of a green screen, of course, and using some open source streaming software that allows me to be behind this podium. I can't put my fingers over the edge of the podium, but I can rest them here as if they were on the top of it, just as an aside. And Kate and I do IMD4, which is a marketing, branding, research ad agency. Kate and I met in New York City, where I worked on Madison Avenue and with some of the television stations. Kate also worked a bit in television, but we met and, got married, and we live in the lifestyle of the mom and pop business. And so we say that we provide Madison Avenue experience and sensibilities at Main Street prices with, common sense of what actually happens, out here in real life. And, for people that sometimes don't have a large budget or things of that nature. And let me bring up the show here. So you'll note that I have magic powers and I have this monitor here to appear. So real world advertising. Now, it is a bit ironic, I guess, to start off on real world advertising here in this highly digital world that we have. And so it's obvious it's worth noting that we use computers 24/7, generating everything, generating the print, generating video, generating radio. And so it's not like there's this hard line between the digital and the rest of the world. But there has always been, for the last 20 years, people saying it will all go to computer-based delivery, social media, and it will all be on computer screens. And we're sort of here to provide the other side, old school stuff that still can work quite well. For each business, it is still just the most critical that they kind of self-assess and try to map out a plan. There is no one plan that's going to work for every business. There's no one plan that will work for a business year after year after year. You can get a really good one and you can follow that baseline, but it's always important to stay mindful on your marketing. It's your communication with the outside world. Just as if the metaphor was yourself in your own clothing, you might be wearing your best outfit, but did you remember to press it? And did you know that someone's not going to know your backstory of years and years of good work, and it will be that first impression that they take from you, and so you always must keep keep reviewing, stay mindful all the time. There we are in front of the redesigned Dover sign. This is on 13 and Salisbury, I believe, and we had the good fortune to fall into the job where they wanted that sign redesigned. And so if you remember before, for a long time, Dover, if you hear the jingling, that's our beagle in the background. But it used to be in block letters, and it said, "The capital of the first state, Dover, Delaware." And kind of readable, but workmanlike design. And so we thought that it should say welcome, welcome to, and then Dover a lot bigger and make the capital of the first state smaller. And here I can actually bring that screen up a little closer here. I get smaller, but a little more friendly. You see the word Dover, and it's a concept that you would use in signage or in billboards, and really in all kinds of branding, is trying to get one big idea across, and then maybe some of the other things are less important. And so Dover, it's not, Burlington, in which case you have a really long word and you would have to work out. Dover is nice, short, works out nicely to grow that part of the text and gets the main idea across. And then again, adding the welcome to. It's always good to be polite and welcoming, friendly. And as we moved here to Dover in 2017, and so it was really quite an honor to get to do a job like this. Going back to the 80s, various companies that we've worked for, network television in there, perhaps some of the logos are more known than others. Starting our own agency in the 2000s, we worked for banks, hospitals, pharmacies, restaurants, newspapers, auctioneers, county governments, economic developments, things of that nature. News of traditional advertising death have been greatly exaggerated. And of course, this is a play on Mark Twain's quote when I guess there was news of his death. And I think he was out of the country even. And so it was a week or two before he learned that they were saying that. And so that was his comment, that his death had been exaggerated. We're going to cover today storefronts, signs, billboards, vehicles, clothes and swag, print, newspapers, magazines, other printed materials like chamber guides, brochures and flyers, direct mail, which can include a targeted list, which is sort of the old school, EDDM, which was a new product that's now been around about pushing a decade now. It's a great thing from the USPS, especially for small businesses. And then the internal list, which is emailing your own contacts, your own customers, sometimes overlooked, but you can send them something in the mail. Radio, TV, events, swag, and swag is sort of what they call it on the shoot in New York, for your promotional items, your T-shirts and hats and stuff. It's a pirate term, I guess. Items you're already doing. So there may be things that you're already paying money to produce for your business, but you're not branding them, and so they become a cost. And sometimes you can move some of that cost over and make it an asset, a marketing asset. And of course, networking, which was what we're doing here today. So, and then the other thing I would say to try to keep in mind through all of this is not to say don't do social media. Of course, many of the things that we're going to show today, you should make a post about and coordinate it. Classic branding is about consistency. It's about getting your graphics, getting your ad, and then if I saw it in the newspaper, if I saw it on Facebook, if I see it on a billboard, there should be a consistency across all of these things. And we've had a lot of success in billboard campaigns that then are also on Facebook, also on Twitter, all the other ones that that are being invented every day. So it is not an either or, and in no case would we ever say that. Again, this business about being mindful and thinking through something. Before you ever do any graphics, before you ever do any advertising, businesses must identify their situation and set goals. Now, again, that can be a very generic thing to say. You got to identify your situation. What I really mean is, most every business says, I'd like to grow. Well, do you have the capacity to grow? Like, is it realistic? what is the issue on why you're not as big as you'd like to be? There is no ad on earth that will offset a bad customer experience. If we you can put up billboards, you can run TV ads, and then when they finally come to your business or call you on the phone, if they don't have a good experience, those ads aren't really going to do very much. It's worth noting when we watch television, some ads, some salespeople will be, high pressure. They want you to sign right away. Well, it's a reason to be, at least to have a yellow light turn on. The other companies will say things like, it's okay, take all the time you want and all of that. And they're confident that their customer experience will be a good one, whereas maybe some others are worried about that. Without setting a goal, you will not ever be able to assess what you're doing, and you'll still just kind of be stumbling around in the dark. You have to have something. So plan, research, review your business first. Make ads second. And so I think that the first part is often overlooked. And today is about the actual types of advertising. So I'm just blowing through all of this stuff. I'll talk about brand. And people go, oh, brand. Brand means the top of this chart here, very important, repeating revenue. And sometimes I would say repeating revenue for no good reason other than they know your brand. Okay. It's just, whoa, I know, you name it, any one company. It is a concept that rests upon three things. The three spokes of the brand share are customer experience, your business model, a strong image. And if you don't have all three of these, you're going to fail. As I've already said, customer experience, if customers are not having a good experience, then your business will fall apart. If your business model is wrong, like you may be very popular and you're selling lots of stuff, and then you run the books and find out that, oh, we're actually not making as much money as we thought on each sale. Some businesses find out that some types of business they're engaged in, they're actually losing money on certain parts of it. If they don't have a business model that actually works, then your company will fall apart. Finally, the strong image part, which most people would say, well, that's all that an ad agency does. And I would strongly disagree. If you think your marketing is in a vacuum and that your graphics and your flyers and things have nothing to do with your business model or nothing to do with your customer experience, that's a recipe for failure as well.
Sorry, real quick, Jim. We can't see your screen. It's showing small but large on the blue screen, so it's very hard to see it. I'm not sure.
I just texted Cindy to tell her. I don't know if she started sharing the wrong screen, but I just sent her a text.
What are you all seeing right now?
We're seeing the CDC's screen, not your screen.
Yes, I just sent a chat too.
And I sent her a text. There you are.
We're not hearing Cindy either. You can see her lips moving.
Oh my, thank you for your host has spotlighted your video for everyone, but it's still showing just her.
Yeah, it just shows a big blank blue screen.
Oh, good Lord. Well, welcome to the world of technology and good intentions. Let me, she just called me earlier this morning. Let's see.
I just saw her pop in.
Oh, and she's in Michigan. She's not at the chamber office.
If you select swap video and shared screen, it brings up his. That's what I had to do. I thought there was something wrong with my laptop, so I changed the view. You go to view, it says swap video and shared screen, and then it makes his slide big and the blue screen little. I can see what he's
I don't
share.
have that
No, I am
option.
under mine. I am spotlighting myself, which should make it go out to everyone. But I see in the main feed that it is just a blue screen. I
But if you
apologize.
look at you as the main screen, you can see it fine. I've been looking at you the whole time. It can see everything because I have your screen pulled up, not their shared screen.
That's what everyone's going to need to do unless she comes back, because apparently there's something that's locked on her otherwise. So I believe you can go to the little thumbnail of my feed in yours, and there's a 3-dot menu on to the right.
It just gives me a chat option. It doesn't give me a,
Me either.
Huh.
If you highlight the speaker as the main screen, you should be able to see it.
oh. Let me see if I can figure that out.
Or if I'm on an iPad, I just clicked on your video. And so if you're on a mobile device, that's the other thing that you can do is just click on the video.
It's interesting. My interface says that I'm spotlighted.
Mine doesn't even work with speaker on my desktop. I just have you little and a huge blank blue screen big, so.
I did the swap video and it worked. So
So did I, and it came up.
Yeah.
I don't have.
If you
swap
do
video.
up in a view in the right-hand corner and go down and swap video and shared screen.
Yeah, I don't have swap video on mine.
Yeah, I don't either. That's why I had to select the speaker versus the gallery. And then
Yeah.
it worked. He was the big one.
Did that make any change?
When I put you as speaker, I still get a big blue screen and you little, but nobody else. So
Are you, and you're looking at active speaker
yeah.
as opposed to gallery?
Does everyone else have it?
Yeah,
I can see
Yep.
his screen now.
Okay, if you all
And
have
this,
it,
and the chamber screen is minimized.
right. That's what I have.
Mine, me too.
well, good, then.
If you're the only one, I guess you know what he's saying.
Yeah, if
anyway.
I'm the only one, that's okay. If you guys have it.
Sorry.
So there are quite a few people, it looks like, that I don't believe we've heard from. Is all the others who are muted out there, are you able to see the presentation?
I can
See
see it.
me?
I swapped it, so I'm good now.
I can see it just fine. I'm on a iPad, so
So you see me in the corner at a podium.
yep. I
Okay.
see your whole screen with your slideshow.
Plan ahead and do a test run. Of course, I'm using a little extra hook here with the Zoom to make the special effects. So, well, I'm going to continue. But I hesitate because I think that there's some customer out there that I'm not thinking like, and need to work out my tech better and make certain that everyone can get it easy. What are the things your customers are thinking about? Well, if you put dogs and cats in your presentation, people usually like them. But the point of this slide is that, customers are different. Some are dog people, some are cat people, some are neither, and some are both. And so to say, think like your customers, that's one thing to say it, but it's a different thing in reality. But there are some basics that I can tell you about every single customer out there. That is that they like convenience. Their lives are busy, they're hectic. Things, there's other things other than your marketing on their mind. Inconvenient is bad, hard to get to your place. Not knowing what the hours are, getting to your business and the hours have changed and you didn't know that and now you're not there and then maybe it's in the other part of town. And so, well, you'll see if they have an online option. If you go to their site and you don't see what you're looking for quickly, now you're kind of using your time because their materials weren't good. Convenience is absolutely the number one. When you track bank branches or pharmacies or why one pharmacy does better than that, convenience will outrank the friendly service. You can have a mean branch, so to speak, and a friendly branch, but if the one is on the main road and the other one is down the alley and you can't get to it, well, still the one with the better location will probably do better. The other one that every customer you can know is that known equals good and unknown equals bad. That goes right down to the most basic. Like, I can't buy something from a company that I don't know exists. That's obvious. But also, again, do I know exactly what their products are? Do I know what I can get? Have you ever been driving on a trip and you may want to go to, let's say, a local diner, but you're in a town in a state that you don't know, and you're looking at their storefront and going, I wonder if that's a good restaurant or not. Then you see some fast food. And even though you may not dig that fast food so much, you know exactly what you're going to get there. And one of my best examples, again, is McDonald's, where 99% of the McDonald's have clean bathrooms when you're on a road trip. And if that's important, you can pretty much count on them. And I think the McDonald's Corporation knows that. We also may know where the layout of the McDonald's, like, the bathroom's on the right side. And so has it been known to slip in a McDonald's in the side door and use the bathroom and leave without buying anything? Well, I think Cindy just tried to call me. You all still good? Seeing things?
Yes.
Okay, I appreciate that. This is one of my favorite stories. Just really quick, for about, I think it was 3 years. This was just south of my hometown in Indiana. I drive past this piece of equipment here. It's a combine head. I actually ran a farm for a few years in Indiana and would have been one of the very few people in this county, maybe a few dozen, who would be in the market to buy such a thing. But I drove past this for years because some farmers also keep their equipment outside, unless you have a barn big enough for that piece of equipment there. It's all the time stuff's left outside. One day, a for sale sign showed up on this combine head. And I slowed down and looked at it even closer. But anyway, it finally sold. And it's a small town out there, 2,000 people. And I was talking about that combine head finally sold down there. And it turned out that in the group I was talking, the farmer who actually owned that combine head was in that group. And he said, that thing's been for sale for 3 years. And I know people put cars out by the highway to sell. Of course I know that. But again, I drove past the thing and said I was in a small group of people who might have actually considered buying the thing without putting a for sale sign on this. That person was not thinking like their customers and just going, well, I know it's for sale. Why else would I put it out there? But if we could drive down the road and I could show them another farm field with equipment in it that was not for sale. So again, not thinking like your customer and how other people see you. It's kind of a funny thing to say given the difficulties of seeing me. People are not looking for your ads or any ads. They're not, and they don't see them in an optimal light. And that cuts both ways. One, people are wary of advertising. They're not just going to see an ad and go, oh, okay, and then run out and do it. So they don't see your ad in the optimal light that way. And also, they don't see your materials. Here's another quick story. In 2015, we took a road trip to Alaska. 13,000 miles. And we love the road trip, of course. But on the last day, this is in Arkansas, and we had 700 miles to go, and we had to get home that night. So that's a big drive for one day. And we didn't want not going to chance some bad service or dirty bathroom or whatever when the sun was up, and that's the direction we needed to go, and it was blinding, and I couldn't see anything. and all the signs were just black squares. But there's that sign in black. And I learned something about marketing that day, which was if the McDonald's sign was a square, I wouldn't have known there was a McDonald's over there that day. It's because the geniuses of the McDonald's Corporation knew that their logo even worked if you couldn't see the colors or read it. You could just see the shape. And I go, wow, that's a smart thing. Here's another thing that goes on in advertising. Most people in most situations do try to blend in. You adhere to dress norms. You know, if you're going to a business thing, you wear business clothing. And in certain situations, of course, people do try to stand out. Certain personalities want to be the person that everyone's looking at, but it's really quite rare. Moreover, you know, humility is a virtue. This is entirely antithetical to what you need to do when you're advertising. In advertising, you need to stand out from the crowd. You need to be able to look across a bunch of disparate things going on in reality, and your ad, your print, your sign, your brand comes through. And so this is a barrier to people doing good marketing, because their instinct is, oh, I don't want to do that. I don't want to stand out. And what they really need is to do something to stand out. So it's worth saying again, stop thinking like yourself, start thinking like your customers. And as I said before, when you've gone through this and you think, set a goal with a timeline, review and reassess constantly. So now for the main event of this talk, the types of advertising and why you would use them. This video was made over a decade ago. You can add more things on here. What the main point of this is how I think most people view marketing. It's how I view marketing in many mornings, which is there's so many things. How are we going to fish through this? People are always saying, which one works? Which one is best? So we won't answer that question until later in the process, but I'm going to start at the closest to you and work kind of outward in certain ways. So we're going to start with your storefront. By your storefront, of course, I mean your storefront, but I also mean yourself and your logo, because the way your logo works in the concept, your logo is sort of your graphic storefront in a lot of ways. Here's a bank, a 130-year-old bank in rural Indiana, in a town of about 18,000 people, a county of maybe 25, and the neighboring towns out there, the towns are all about 15 miles apart. It's kind of uncanny, and those are usually the county seats. And in old school, banks like this stuck to their county, stuck to their town and all that. But of course, in the last 30, 40 years, everyone needs to get bigger. Costs, margins are squoze and all that. And so this bank, we took them as a client, and I said, you need a sign. You need a sign. You have no sign in front of your bank. And the president said, we have a sign. You can see it here. You can see it here on the back of this building here. And it's they're fairly large letters in iron or silver, or completely invisible from the road. It just looks like distortion. I'm not sure what it says, and I'm not, I mean, I know what it says, but from the road, from the stranger, thinking like the customer. So this was from a neighboring town, from my hometown. In my hometown, when we took this client, I asked a few people around town if they'd heard of this bank. Again, a 130 years old. And a couple of people said, yeah, that's up there in Connorsville and all that. But one person I asked, a friend of mine who was a fairly prominent auctioneer, auctioneered for land outside of our county. And said, never heard of it. So a 60-year-old successful businessman in the business of selling land had not heard of a 130-year-old bank that was, in this case, about 20 miles away in the next county over. I said, you don't have a sign. We created a logo for them first. They put this sign in front of their bank, and it was like flipping a switch. Meaning, oh, that bank. It was an interesting coincidence or happenstance that this was one of 3 banks on 3 successive corners in this town. One of the other banks of these 3 banks was also in brick with kind of masonry in its gable. And so they're kind of like, oh, and I actually heard this part of this town referred to as Bank Gulch. Okay, Bank Gulch, I know that the industry is there, but no message, no branding, no sign. And we included the electronic sign below this with the order that at least half of the messages of this bank had to be community-oriented events. It was not that interesting to the customers to see that they had free checking, but it was extremely appreciated by the local schools and churches and civic groups that their events, their pancake breakfasts, their things, and we have people come in and say, we just had the most people ever who came to the Alquina Firehouse. You know, we used to get 200 people there. We just had 500. And I don't remember the exact numbers, but they said that they had more than double and they had to go send people to the grocery store. Very, very appreciative. Once a sign like this is built, and it was here with inflation and things cost a bit more on the East Coast than the Midwest, but you're talking about $30,000 to even $50,000 investment on this. Obviously, that's not for every mom and pop. But once it is built, it is there working for you, and hopefully not too much maintenance. For a sandwich shop that was also in the town, and they were not getting much business. Well, if you're a restaurant and you don't have signs talking about your specials, a sign that says open and one that actually is tended to, meaning don't have an open sign out if you're closed. That's just a way to tick people off and look like you're generally disorganized. But moreover, when people are looking at that and deciding, should I go in there? And he goes, well, it's open. You can't see so well, but on the side of the building were their top 3 dishes inside of this cafe, including the hot brown, I believe, were close enough to Kentucky. This was a community group that was well funded, and they had actually been donated a building. This is an ex-bank, and there's an educational group in there, not getting as many students as they thought they should, but if you drove around it, I mean, you could hear about them. I hesitate to say online and maybe in the newspaper, but signage, including a sign with movable type, and of course, movable type like this is a lot cheaper than the electronic sign, where they could list special events, special speakers, different classes, fall signups, you have you. And then we rounded the corner again on more is more sometimes in regards to that, but they had a good painting community there, and so we identified that learn to paint would be the best one for that. I ultimately envisioned, and I'm not sure what they're doing, that the paint poster would change year by year. Your storefront is the cheapest. Now, I'm just going to gloss over yourself. You're all adults, but just remember, like Mom said, make a good presentation, speak that people can hear you. That's on your own. But for your logo is where you might want to look into help. So here's that same bank we looked at that we put the sign in front of. In the upper left was their old logo. And that comes back to I would say the slide that said known equals good and unknown equals bad and known equals good. So the readability of the new logo is what's good. They both literally say USLA, but with their old logo, they were trying to, attempt to do something that made the S into a $sign, but I don't really see what it says. And if you polled someone, I would say it says something like UA, but I don't know what it says. Readable, quick. It looks like a mountain or an anvil. This is a 130-year-old bank. This client came to us and said, we need a new logo. We think we want to get rid of the cartoon. I go, well, okay. And of course, Pizza Guy cartoons are very widely used and all that, but they'd used that for like 30 years. And I said, what? And they said, yeah, we used to even do cartoon ads with the Pizza Guy doing things, but the kids have all said it's not cool. So let's get rid of them. And I just sort of said, kids love cartoons. It's not that they don't like cartoons. It's that your cartoon looks old. I mean, it's not today. So we worked on updating the Pizza Guy and all that. And now we even have people that say they look at the billboards to see what that guy is doing. Here's a hospital, their original logo. It's nicely designed and all, but people don't think like your customer. I may be seeing your logo from a distance. It was too precious. The typography is too thin. It's hard to read. Don't make it hard to read for your people. In a hospital, you're talking about sick people. You're talking about people under stress, elderly people, and all that. And healthcare is something. Whenever a healthcare business makes it hard for people, when their fill-out forms are really small type, when it's hard to see where to drive, those are horrible, horrible things that should be addressed. Think like your customer, make it easy. Here in Delaware, we didn't really change the logo much. We beefed it up. If you'll note that the typography is the same font, but we bolded it so that you can read it quick. The other thing that has been done for artisans is give them option styles. Their logo is what I would call a modular logo, in which the A-B circle and the type can all change position, and it can be stacked. And there's actually many, many configurations that are legal for that logo, and it gives them lots of options on the different media. Signs and storefronts are tied at the hip. So they're not just your logo sign, but there can be informational signs, like, of course, today's special, or just something else. I had a boss in the old days that would say, you can do anything you want to customers as long as you tell them. And you tell them up front. The prices are rising. I'm sorry, prices have to rise. Versus, hey, I thought this sandwich was $9.99. Now it's $11.99. And then there's an anger. And of course, you can't bend over backwards for every single complaining customer, but why do anything? So up front, tell your customers. Directional. I can't tell you how many times, there's data to back this up. If people can't see an easy way to drive into your parking lot, there's some that go, I'm not going to go there. Again, we can talk about 30-somethings, and we can talk about teenagers, and they're just whipping through everything and all that. And then there's the elderly and all that. And the thing that is still often overlooked, but it's just a fact, the older you are, probably the richer you are. So all of this talk, it's not a dumb idea to still advertise to 50-year-olds. It's a great idea, in fact. So signs are something you have to check with your local ordinances on, because some communities don't like these at all. I have to say that I am a sign proponent, and it's not just because I work in marketing. It's because signs, moreover, are the best that a mom and pop might have. you may not be able to get on television or on radio or have a whole bunch of other things supporting your business, but a good sign in front of your business. Imagine a restaurant, and again, McDonald's or Mom and Pop's Diner. Mom and Pop's Diner has a sign on it that says, the greatest fried chicken in the area. Well, that's intriguing. It is, I know, for me and Kate. If you're not allowed to have that sign and you're just allowed to have your name on a plaque and you just see the name and you just see the McDonald's name again, because known is better than unknown. So I may go, I don't like McDonald's the way I did when I was, 15, but I know what I'm going to get. I know what I'm going to get. I know that if I just want to go in and, quickly get a Diet Coke or something, I can do it. Whereas a diner, maybe we'll wait for 10 or 15 minutes. You don't know. Signage. So this has just been put up in Rehoboth Beach and is instead of the unity of logo design worked into a really nice and striking sign. But this was, not cheap. So it's not realistic for some places. But on the flip side, it is tied together with the full marketing campaign of what you would see online, what you would see in print, what you would see in direct mail. This is Richard's Pizza again. Again, they are 60 years old, very successful small chain in southwestern Ohio. And I had to have the difficult conversation with them when we took on the client and said, your sign, I question the quality of the food because the sign looks dingy. And you have to have these honest conversations. And, it's like, as you can imagine, it's if you just come and say, oh, yeah, that's great. And you don't ask the hard questions. Food is kind of where the rubber hits the road. Are you really going to go in? So they redid the top sign and modernized it. All their directionals got redone. As part of a sprucing up. I would say, I guess, the other thing that happens to a 60-year-old restaurant, which is they have a really loyal customer base, and it does rest upon their food. But when they're talking about incremental and more, and you always need to be thinking about more because things change. Margins get tighter, customers die in a long-term business. You always want that next generation or the people who've just moved there. And moving, there's a lot of people moving. There's a lot of people new in every community in America. That's one thing. So don't think that everyone knows about your business, because they don't. Today, someone is moving to Kent County. I will bet you $1. Here is a sign again for an auctioneer, and they went with the electronic sign as well. And this place had been there for 30 years on this location. They put their sign up. They actually did their own construction to keep their costs down, and immediate effects. A good sign has immediate effects on your business. Here you get the wider shot. A beautiful place down there. Directional signs. Don't think that just because it's inner here that's all your sign needs to say. The logo, again, with an arrow, means inner here. Yet your branding again. Excuse me. Every sign gets branded. If you were to look at an ad for this pharmacy, George's Pharmacy, it would have a light blue background with a maroon triangle in the upper left with the logo sitting on it. The home office of George's Pharmacy had maroon awnings. So in the process of there, we decided that we would tie the maroon awning of the physical experience of going to the original, and it carried out. And then, of course, when they moved, this was an old bank branch that was converted to a pharmacy. And what did they do? They put the red awnings on the windows and other red facing to keep with the branding. You go inside, you get the red yet again, another chance to brand. you want people to recognize your logo like this, like even if it's blurry or even if the sun's in your eyes and all that, you go, oh, I know that George's logo. And your customer's not going, I know that George's logo. The way it works is just like, oh, there's a George's. It's once you embed it in the head, like the M in the sunlight. I knew what that meant. Signs in your place, continually to brand your place. I go in a lot of businesses and they're branded. They've got a storefront. Their materials on the inside are not branded. It's a missed opportunity. Signs inside of your business. Now you can go with electronic screens. Now, electronic screens, you can buy a service that are networked across the net, and it can be, well, long-term it's cost-effective, but the initial investment can be quite a bit. But I'm here to tell you that any old PC or Mac, old laptop is what I look out for because it's usually on the client's counter, and with a slideshow program, and you can line them up, and an old monitor as well. Now, 20 years ago, you might not find an old monitor or et cetera, or you might have it, but it'd be huge. Now or you can go over to Best Buy and get a new monitor for, $80 if you wanted. Probably you want to spend more like, $175 or $200. But the point is that you could get your messages up inside of your business pretty cheap, and by loading a slideshow of JPEGs or showing different videos, and it's a good way to go. Here's the artisan signing in. It's out there. I said it's expensive, but then it's out there working for you 24/7, 365. That's why storefronts and signs are what you do if you have very little money. Now, again, I'm not saying don't do social media. That's something you can do for not very much money. I'm not saying don't network. That's something you can do for not very much money. But in regards to tactile, we need a brand. We need a sign. We need something. Don't go out and buy some billboards or don't place some print ads if your actual storefront looks horrible. They'll be driving people away. Again, there's one business that needs foot traffic. There's another business that's going to exist more on the net. So you have to take everything I say and apply it to your own situation and say, how important is this? What I will tell you that my story about driving by the combine part goes on with businesses. Someone puts up a new sign and there will be people in the towns go, I never knew that business was here. And it might have been there for years and years and years, time after time. Storefronts and signs are your best value. If you said, I got $1,000 to spend on marketing, I got $500 to spend on marketing. If you have a physical location, spend it on your sign and with your logo. Spend it on that if that is all that you had. Moving away from the storefront, I move on to billboards. And billboards are the most misunderstood piece of marketing in the whole shebang. They're misunderstood, and I know they're misunderstood. One, it's what I cut my teeth on up in Madison Avenue right out of college. I got into a billboard-heavy campaign, learned from some of the top people there on what makes a good billboard. And secondly, when I drive around and look at billboards, Kate and I love to do this, it's so entertaining. There are a lot of bad billboards. Bad meaning, one, the driver is supposed to be looking at the road. Two, even if you're got the luxury that you can look over there and see what that billboard is, you got a split second to see what's going on the thing. Now, it might be different next to a stoplight, and you stop there, and then you can read it a bit longer. But upwards of 80 to 90%, most billboards put too much information on the sign, which is unknown. And, again, unknown Unknown's not good. Billboards are geographically based. They're limited in supply and all are not equal. So I could just tell you from my knowledge of the state of Delaware right now that Newcastle County is swimming in billboards. If you wanted, if your business was up there and you wanted to use billboards as your plan, you'd be pretty good to go. Likewise, on the north side of Dover, on up through there, there's quite a few billboards and seemingly availability. You need to think of billboards the way you think of real estate. Like I said, you can't just say, I want a billboard on Route 15. I want it a mile down the road from our business. Well, if there's no billboard that exists down there to rent, you're not going to get one down there. The town of Dover doesn't have very many, so for Dover-wide businesses, it's not the best solution. But starting at Dover, heading south to the beach, there's a lot of billboards. If you're in southern Kent County, if you're in Milford, if you're between Milford and Rehoboth Beach, you have lots of options. You have to assess whether the people you think driving on that road will see your thing, but everybody drives. Now, these are unretouched pictures, and I do that because it shows how you see a billboard when you're out. A lot of times they're in doubles. So on the right is a billboard that we designed, and again, it's for Richard's Pizza, 60 years old. Their sandwich is so famous, they send this out every Christmas to every state in the nation. People buy Richard's steak sandwiches and send them to all 50 states. We're just getting this off the ground again this week for this year. The billboard to the left of it, I can't read it. I see players wanted, but I don't know what players are for. I know enough that it is for the Joe Nuxall Youth League, I believe. Joe Nuxall, old Cincinnati Red, the youngest person to pitch in a major league game, and Southwestern Ohio hero. But I hate to say, and then you'll note that part of their billboard is actually behind that shed that's for the train tracks. So your billboards are behind poles, they're behind trees. You might be looking into the sun when you look at one. And note that the billboard on the left has, players wanted, it's this logo. I don't know what the stuff is at the bottom. Perhaps that's legal, but in too many cases, sometimes that's actually important info. People look at the billboard design on the computer screen, and the computer screen, of course, is in perfect light and perfect color. And you go, oh, yeah, I can read that. Plus, the people designing it and the client, they know what it says. So it's already triggered in their head to know what it says. Whereas if we showed that to just complete strangers, and they go, I don't know what that says. On the right, now, again, not every company can just put their logo and their product and their little cartoon man and know what that is. But in this case, that works for them, again, because a 60-year-old business. Here's another one I like, where the billboard on the right is one we designed and one on the left. And I was just fascinated because on this morning, those billboards were actually reflecting the sunlight. So even though they were south facing and in nice, good sun, it was so bright on that day, and there was kind of a haze that one on the left, it went totally white. And again, I did not retouch these photos. You can say that, it's a bad photo, but this really simulates what you see in real life, meaning, I get the USLA and I can make out loyal service. It's something like a wagon is on there. The right side, if I look at it close enough, you can make out it is for the eye center, eye doctors there. Kind of ironic if you think of an eye doctor making a billboard. That's hard to read, but I digress. Here's another. Some billboards are way high on towers, okay? And actually, when you view this one from the road, it's through electric lines and things. This billboard is actually the last billboard by an exit of a main state road outside of Indianapolis. So its traffic counts were off the charts. It's also south face. You'll hear me mention south face a lot about billboards, which is in the northern hemisphere, the sun is almost always in the southern sky. Well, it's not almost, it always is in the southern sky. A south facing billboard has the sun on it almost all the time. This is really critical in the winter, because in the winter and the sun never gets very high in the sky. If you have a north face billboard, almost invariably, you have to look into the sun to see it, which means you're not going to be seen. It's not going to be seen very often. Another interesting story about a billboard like this is I had one where I just had the client's logo quite large, and the billboard next, no person on it. And the billboard next was, I believe, for an insurance company that showed 3 agents, and then they had their logo really small. And some guests came from New York out there to visit us, and we're driving by, and they go, "Well, who are those people?" And I said, "I don't know." And they said, "But you said that you did the billboards for that company." And I go, "Yeah." And he goes, "Well, then who's on that billboard?" They saw the 2 side-by-side billboards as one billboard in their mind, because they saw a big logo on the left side, no people, and it had our stuff. And on the right side, they saw people, but the company made their logo so small, and people grasp onto the big things. People go to bright colors. They go to a face that's on the picture. So that other company, we were getting the effect of a double billboard for this observer, and the company that bought the half billboard that was just their people were losing effectiveness on their board. Here's another one again. This is a real life situation and how you would judge a billboard. This billboard is on a curve. It's facing to the south. In the winter, it's kind of a drab landscape. You use some bright colors. Here's another real world situation. Here in downtown Wilmington, which I can make out that there's an Artisans Bank board there in downtown Wilmington. I'm not sure what's in the brown, but we're still up the street. The unfortunate company that's up on the top, I don't know what it says. And I could stop and read it, but
was blue, she said.
Are we still having that problem? Well, I'm hoping it's not. Does someone need assistance on how to get into the picture? Well, I'm going to go. Another situation where this is how people see billboards.
Okay. Let me call, text and say I can hear him.
And you're able to see me too, Cindy?
Yes, I can. Can you hear me?
I can.
Okay. Can everybody else hear you?
Yes.
I'm
Okay.
doing fine. This is Mary Lois.
I'm going to keep on. I'm showing these pictures again, and you say, well, it's hard to see. This is, again, how you see billboards. So when I say that I think billboards are a good idea, if they're in the right location, if you get the good ones, if you have a right design on them, I'll tell you again, I don't know what the bottom board is there and what company it is, and they might have wasted their money. Billboards come in the super big size that you might see on I-95, and then 13 has a lot of smaller panels. Just as a thing. Here's some of my favorite billboards. Now this breaks that the logo is small, but again, it's that famous sandwich, and it's the mascot of the company who has the R on his hat, and it's funny. We heard a lot of feedback from this. This is a board that shows the extension. That's something you can get, and it's not that much more expensive that you can make your graphic bleed off the top. Some of these boards like this can be extremely effective. I'll just say this. If there was, let's just say we had $5,000 and you said, I need the entirety, you need to have coverage, but I say, I want everyone between Dover and Rehoboth to know about a product, and you had $5,000, I would say that we're going to put billboards along 1 and 113, and we're going to drive around and find the billboards that we'd like to have. Now, you're not going to be able to get everyone you'd like to have because it is like real estate. but there'll be a few and you can see, and then you put in with the various companies. But for a month with Billboards, if you buy more than one, you might be able to squeeze out of them a rate of like 400 per. So maybe we could get 10 billboards and you need $1,000 for the artwork. Maybe you could get 8 billboards. And if you did that along one between Dover and Rehoboth, and your business was where you could capture those people where it made sense for them, you could do a lot of good work, especially if your billboard was maybe funny. There's classic stories of people in Los Angeles, people who wanted to get into acting. They buy a billboard for themselves, and if it's a good enough billboard, it certainly works. Here was for another bank client, and again, basketball is big out there, and this was the colors of the bank and the hometown team, and this one got a lot of things. Again, very few words. When these billboards I'm showing you that I say are the best ones, very few words. Graphic, in your face, boom, I got, look at that, funny. But, is podiatry funny? Humor is something that I strongly advocate as in all ads, depending upon the client. Here's a great billboard. Again, it's modern, boom. And another one for the pizza place. And yes, when I said I learned in advertising in the 90s, I was one of the top designers of Joe Camel, and that is considered a billboard. It's the top of a subway in New York City, and that particular design was my employer praised me highly that I had found the essence and made the simplest board that did the most work. Just boom, just the name. They used to have taglines. They used to have all kinds of business going on, and we got to the essence there. So my point with billboards is still everybody drives. Rich, poor, male, female, black, white. Everyone still drives. Which brings me to vehicles. If you have your own business and you haven't branded your vehicle, that's a mistake. And the only way would be you're in a category or for some reason you don't want to be seen. But if you go driving around, you should have your company email on your, excuse me, please. You should have your company logo on your vehicle. Richard's Pizza. They used to just deliver in a regular car. They do this, their catering business improves. Oh, I saw you out delivering. They have a food truck every summer. They've had a food truck for 30 of their 60 years. When we changed it from, they were branded, they had their logo on it, we changed it to red. Now, I Googled food trucks, and food trucks are becoming really big in some parts of the country. And when you see people that are really successful with their food truck, invariably, it seemed to me like Portland has these food truck, Portland, Oregon. They're all multicolored, so they've all gotten it. But if you go to a county fair or just normal people's event, there's a lot of white trailers there. So if you pull your white trailer up to all the other white trailers, it just kind of gets lost in a sea. But by making it fun, they got more business. This is a much more inexpensive. You don't have, wrapping a vehicle is several $1,000s. Putting stickers on your vehicle like that, 100, 200, something like that. So a lot more effective and can sometimes be just as good. Here's a toy vehicle that we branded, and that bank would go into, as many as 10 parades a year out in the Midwest. There's parades for the fair, Memorial Day, homecoming, and actually quite a bit. And their brand was to be community oriented. So by making this little truck and someone drove it down the street, It was a riot. It was such a riot that people said, well, are you giving that away? And we, of course, didn't want to give away the main one. But what we did was we bought a second one and had the two vehicles go down the street. And the second one said, win me. Come in, sign up online, or better yet, even come into the bank and sign up. This time of year, toy giveaways are a great idea. And here's yet one more vehicle that you wouldn't think of necessarily. At a farm auction, there was this old wagon, and it was in the budget. This is the 130-year-old bank, and so they bought it. They actually, at the headquarters, already had a garage that it could fit in, so it wasn't an operational problem. When we put the logo on it, it was already green. And if you'll note, that's the wagon that ended up in a billboard. So branding. They don't have that out front of their place every day. They have it on their Founders Day, and then on special days for the town, they'll roll out the old wagon. It's always a hit. In the fall, you can fill that with mums, and it's a great idea. Print is really widely encompassing because it means not just the magazines and newspapers, but it's all your brochures, flyers, rack cards, all kinds of things that are printed. I personally do not see how print will ever go away, despite people saying that it is in the past. It absolutely is not in the past. Here's a Delaware State News, where they have an ad location at the bottom of their front page, which I think is a great value. I am not affiliated with Delaware State News. I'm just saying that I've been responsible for placing ads in it. And the front is a really good spot if you get it. Front, back. Here's the close-up on the thing. And I know these things still work. Remember again that as bluntly as I can say, older people tend to have more money. It is not a bad idea to still advertise to older people. Not to say that young people aren't reading the newspaper, but I believe that's neither here nor there. Here's an example of a print ad. You'll note that this ad has a lot more type on it than the billboard did. That's the main point of showing these things, but it still doesn't have a book. No one wants to read a big block of text hardly anymore. And moreover, this ad will appear next to an article. So when people are reading the article, they want to see what's going on. How many times you've been going through a newspaper or a magazine and you get to a spread and go, oh, well, that's all just ads. Okay, next. And you just keep going. That's what the consumer is doing. So in that 1 second, when they scan across and say, oh, that's all ads, I want them to think of the client's name. Number one, you get your name in their head. Number one, it doesn't matter that you're the best or the cheapest or the whatever you've got or your product. People load up, and there's always the talk saying, well, shouldn't it say this too? Well, no, not always. Something a little different. People in the photograph sometimes don't know what to do. And by giving people a sign to hold, we were able to relay the idea in a fun kind of way. But here's some print ads. Have very much less text on them. Again, when you have a brand that's recognized, you can do things more like this. I mean, look at the ad that just says it's Friday. It doesn't say the pizza special. It doesn't say the steak sandwich. It doesn't say even their address. It just says it's Friday. And then you let the customer go, pizza. Oh, let's go celebrate with pizza. March Madness. You don't have to say, if there are other ads that actually say Pizza Madness, and you have other support material, but you don't need it in every print ad. Having said that, you can see that the two on the right do have a bunch of details and products. So, it's a balance, and there's no one formula for every single thing. One on the far left, I think, is worth noting that it has a joke included in it. I was going to tell you a joke about pizza, but it was too cheesy. More print ads. And again, look at the brand consistency. Look at the amount of text. These are quarter page newspaper ads, I believe. Quarter page newspaper ads going to full page. Things have changed a little bit from the old days, but that's not a bad model, that sometimes the same ad can be scaled into both sizes, save you some design time. One more in that series, and I included that just to show, again, just to get people's mind thinking that that is the original photograph on the left of this girl. And through the magic of Photoshop, we made her in the volleyball situation. I had people that come to me and go, that photo's fake. And I'm like, well, how did you figure it out? And they're like, they don't play volleyball in the Spartan Bowl. And that's the ceiling of the Spartan Bowl, which is the big arena there. But press releases, and a missing part of a lot of companies don't do these, which is literally write an article about yourself and submit it to the local papers, submit it to the business magazines. They will help you in this. They are looking for content. So there's a thing called advertorial. This was in the Women's Journal for Artisans Bank. You get an article and you get and then an ad on that as part of the whole buy. And then again, they help you with the article, and you have a lot of influence over what the article says as well. It's standard practice. People have been writing, big corporations have written press releases for over a century, but the mom and pop sometimes overlooks this. If you're not into writing your own article, then do something newsworthy. Hold an event, give to charity. Anything could be newsworthy. Realize that, again, that when I go back to that picture that said most people are humble and they don't want to stand out, that's not the way to think. You need to stand out. Your business needs to stand out. When we moved to Delaware in 2017, we joined the chamber, and it included an article about IMD4, and Kate and I in the chamber newspaper, we got clients from our chamber membership because they read the article about IMD4. Brochures. These are all examples of trifolds. Now I'm only showing the front panel of the trifold, but a trifold is a standard size brochure. I think in the lobby of the chamber, they have a rack everywhere. Doctors' offices, real estate offices, the lobbies of different places have this standard size format. Almost every business needs a trifold, in my opinion. So said because it's a regular size sheet of paper that's folded in thirds and it fits. I ran across a client once upon a time that used an oversized piece of paper and still folded it into thirds, but their brochure was very wide. It wouldn't fit in any of the racks. So you say, I think you should make something that fits in the racks. No, we like this size. Well, guess what? When you go to their Chamber of Commerce, it wasn't in the rack. Then for a while, I know that they had a stack of them sitting along the side, but you don't want to make it complicated for the people trying to help you. You don't want to make it difficult. Inconvenience is bad, as we said. Convenience is good. So have the format and you'll help yourself. Here's a trifold that we did for Kent County, and shows you the 3 panels, outside and inside. And then you can also just do straight up flyers as well, which is a good way to go, because sometimes or oftentimes you just print these out of your own printer. And so that shown here on screen is a bleed that might be sent out to a printer that you have a bleed, and bleeds do look nicer. Bleed means that the graphics go off the edge of the pages, but you can make a version of that shoots out of your printer, inkjet or laser. And if you make it in a certain way, it also looks good in black and white if you only have a black and white printer. So that's very useful to say, hey, I only need 10 right now. And you're trying to save money. That is why you might go this kind of route. And a PDF is made. It's a file format, of course, and print your flyer out as needed. You can also do that with the trifold and make a version. Again, this shows the bleed graphics, but you could make it that had white all around and then oh, I'm going to go see a new client today. Print out 1 or 2 of those, fold them yourself, and you're off to the races. Direct mail. Direct mail, in the olden times, you would buy lists. Well, you still buy lists today, but there's also this other great option called EDDM. List buying, again, you can go to a company, or now it's been made online, and maybe you just work through the menus yourself. I want Dover. I want 25 to 45 in age. I want a certain income range. I want a certain whatever, you can name it. And now this targeting can get very, very, very micro. I wouldn't even want to venture how far and how detailed you could get in your mailing. The answer would be vary, and that would be in regards to buying a list. Something that small companies should look into, and very effective for the pharmacy primarily, and then somewhat for that pizza chain and for the banks. EDDM, it's Every Door Direct Mail. It's a service from USPS, United States Postal Service, and you can send anything from a postcard up to, I think you can even go larger than an 8.5 by 11 sheet of paper. That's the size that the pharmacy standardized on, just because the printing costs were so much cheaper to do it on a standard size sheet of paper. We'd put it on a card stock. In fact, their regs say you have to do a card stock. Send that in the mail. So the one on the left is where I would say you have to think certain things through and see. We would print up, we would look at where they wanted to direct mail and print up a thing that said snow, ? And then they have a lot more information on the back of this. And then wait. 1 year we had to wait 2 years because it didn't snow one winter. But once we saw that there was snow on the weather, we pulled the trigger. They were already printed. We pulled the trigger, and we had that flyer show up in people's mailbox on the day of the snow. Got more than a few comments going, how'd you know it was going to snow? Like, how'd you have that all together? But it connected up because delivery was their main, that was their ace card. Like, that was how they grew from a 1 location pharmacy into they're somewhere around 10 today through We Deliver. This is going back to the early 2000s. So pre-Amazon, and who needs their prescriptions delivered? The elderly, sick mothers with sick children while there's a snowstorm going on. I mean, think like your customer. And convenience, right? How convenient is it to have your prescriptions delivered? How convenient is it to have everything delivered? I mean, that's exploded. People have figured out, and of course, technology has come up. Again, you can do postcard size. And the thing about EDDM is this: they have an online tool. Just type into Google EDDM and USPS and look, and don't go to a different company. Go to the actual United States Postal Service EDDM tool. I typed in the chamber's address and said, I want a 5-mile radius, and it will show you every mail route that they have. And you can select them. Now, you can't go house by house, but you can go mail route by mail route and target. Sometimes you have to just accept what they give you, meaning you can see that there's actually in the upper left of the circle, there's some blue dots, meaning some of the mail routes will be in one area. There's no telling. That's up to the post office. So you can't always just say, oh, I just want here. But what you can do is I've highlighted the areas right in the downtown. That could be extremely useful and very cost effective, because you're not mailing out to everybody for a high dollar amount and a whole bunch of people are a waste. You're just targeting her. Here's a second one where I just went to the south part of downtown. And it's more often than you think. Now, if you want to do a larger area, you can still use this and just move area by area. They only let you do 5,000 at a time. But again, that's not too bad. Honestly, 5,000 sometimes does not catch it for a town and for areas here. So I do sometimes 2 days where you can then do up to 10,000, of course, and you just have to plan ahead. But if you were on just a short list of things that I highly recommend, especially for those companies that don't have a lot of money, the EDDM, direct mail. Now, people say, I just throw my direct mail straight in the trash. I think I do that too, right? But while you throw it in the trash, I look at it. Because every once in a while, there's something that I want to see. So when you're throwing that thing in the trash, as I said, if it is this postcard, I want to know that I at least saw Artisans Bank. I at least saw George's Pharmacy while I threw it in the trash. And that's honestly the way it is. But direct mail works. If you have a good piece and you have a good product and a good message, direct mail is extremely effective if you literally want to get people in your door. Radio. Now, I start off here on this map of Philadelphia, and here that's a little bit better. People can say, well, what's your favorite radio station? You might name off a station out of Philadelphia, but I'm going to say that anyone who lives here in Delaware, unless you have a specialty business that can draw people from Jersey and from greater Pennsylvania and all of that, it's a waste of your money. You will never recoup the cost. You're advertising to all those people, but only the small amount of people here in Delaware. And our unique shape of our state and our media buy means that some things I would just say are not feasible. Let's say if you were a business, though, and you did draw from this wider area, you were a destination business, you were a specialty business, maybe you're the only one in this whole area that offers a certain thing. I might see it for custom cars, perhaps, just thinking out loud. Then you might consider a Philadelphia radio station, but you probably want to get one that's based down here in central Delaware. And again, I have no affiliation with any station. I just grabbed two maps here. There is a map called Radio Locator, a website. It's very useful. It shows you the general area. Of course, the inner circle is where they guarantee that you can hear them. Probably out to most of the full circle, you can get these stations. And it depends on weather and all of that. But so, for example, this is pretty good. It's questionable, this station, if it goes all the way to Wilmington and all of Wilmington. But for central Delaware, this is certainly a good one. And here's also a good one, centered more south. And you can just go. And there's a lot of radio station opportunities there. And hopefully, I'm going to share again so that you all get the audio. I'll just play a quick radio spot.
Artisans Bank has supported Delaware residents and small business. Artisans Bank has supported Delaware residents and small.
Do people hear the commercial?
Yeah, it was skipping though.
Well, it was skipping because I was spazzing and trying to find a back button.
Yes.
Okay, I'm going to let it play this time.
Artisans Bank has supported Delaware residents and small businesses since its founding in Wilmington in 1861. As our name says, Artisans began as a bank for craftsmen and consumers to help them achieve financial success. Now, over 160 years later, Artisans continues to serve Delaware with 12 locations throughout the state, or online at artisansbank.com.
Oh my God.
Build for your future at Artisans Bank.
Member FDIC, equal housing lender.
Okay, I apologize. I see how long it's going, so I'm going to speed up. What's the point of that? How many times do you hear the word Artisans Bank? I think I say it 6 times. It might just be 5. It has other things. You're flipping around on the channels, and I only hear 5 seconds of your 30-second commercial. Let it be the part where I said the name of your
Artisans Bank
business.
Artisans Bank was founded
Use your
to help
audio that you
craftsmen
made
and
for radio
consumers
to make
achieve
TV
financial
commercials.
success. Now,
And
over
your
160
TV commercial
years
should
later,
also be posted on your
Artisans
Facebook
continues to
page.
serve Delawareans with their
I'm just going to go fast. I apologize for going so fast. Same thing. Broadcast, you might not go on a Philly station. Maybe Salisbury, Maryland is something to look at. Here's a cable map. You can buy any one of these little areas and specify your cable ad. We will blow past the Christmas ad. Events are a way they can be expensive, they can be cheap. But if you don't have much money, hold an event at your place. Make it fun. People love parties. People love parties. Don't skimp on your party. If you go out to the county fair or the thing, make sure you're branded. You're branded. If you're taking photos of your people at your event, give them a big logo so that you're branded. And that's this came out here. You can see the little thing. One of these photos made it to the cover of this publication, and we got our logo on the front because we were branded. Branded. Event, fun event. This can be cheap. 50s day at your station, and 1800s day at your bank. People love contests. Okay, we got the new sign, the new movable type sign. We put an anagram up there, and this was in the newspaper, but also there were yard signs by it say "Solve the secret message." It got people to notice the bank branch more. People played, and again, people love contests. New customers come from this kind of stuff. Do something outrageous, like make a world record of chicken, okay, or some other world record. That's newsworthy. That gets you some press. Outrageous trophies. Do something that stands out. Don't blend in with your event. Stand out, as we said earlier. Swag. All swag's not equal. Maximize your logo on your swag, okay? I see people, they put their really wide logo and the imprint size is like this and their logo's really itty bitty. Don't be afraid to redesign your logo to maximize the space they give you. It will be different on every product. Here's signs and swag together in the lobby of a place. Don't, if the sign was gone and if the blanket on the table was gone, you would look at it and it would be genericized. But now, of course, we're in the lobby of an Artisans, but T-shirts, make your T-shirts fun. I made fun T-shirts for a client, and as many as 10 years later, I still saw kids wearing these car shirts, and we had a tractor as well. I wasn't able to find for today. But if you just had a shirt and you gave it out with your company name on it, they may not wear that, to some place where they think is cool, but they'll certainly wear their old Corvette shirt somewhere. What are you already doing? All right, you're already doing business cards, you're doing packaging, envelopes, all kinds of things can be branded. Things, folders given out to customers sometimes need to be branded if you can, and you might be spending money for them all already. These are business cards branded to what the ads look like so that it's all together. In the restaurant, they had all the napkin holders and they had ability to put an ad in them. So while people come, they can get what the next promotion is. Networking is inexpensive and effective, like we are doing here this morning. Join organizations and you can get some publicity, again, on a budget, but it's another thing. So which of these are best? Well, I hate to say it again, the number one best type of marketing is the customer experience. So all these things I've showed you that you can do to promote your business still come secondary to how you treat the customer and whether they think they're getting value from you. And word of mouth, quickly followed by word of mouth. If your neighbor tells you that place screwed me over, there's no ad that we can make that can fix it. I went there and I waited 20 minutes before I was waited on. There's no ad we can make that can fix that. If you have those kind of problems in your business, you will just be wasting your money on advertising. Spend your money to fix your business first, then think about advertising. Great marketing is consistent. If you looked across the ads I showed today, and if you saw something for Richard's Pizza, you saw red and gold in your face. If you saw Artisans Bank, you saw a big blue circle and pictures in yellow in your face. If you couldn't read what the ad said, you still saw Artisans Bank, Union Savings and Loan Bank in your face. Consistent each time, every time. Don't get bored. Your customer, it's not a question of you getting bored. It's a question of ringing that bell in the customer's mind. Distinctive, though. It's interesting that people use stock photos today. A stock photo by definition kind of means generic, or you can get these off-the-shelf marketing programs. They'll make you look cool, but they make you look like a whole bunch of other companies that are cool. And so it just all goes into a blur and all that. One reason with Artisans Bank that those stock photos go in that circle was to get away from them looking like every other bank. Easy to understand. Simple is good. Complex is bad. If your customer doesn't know what you're talking about, you're lost. Call to action. So many ads don't have a thing that say, do this, call now, do this now, come now, check your something now and call us now. Courteous, the lost art of courteous. It's a big one. It's a big one. Please, thank you. Realize how fortunate we are. And fun. Fun things work. Make it fun. We've tried to make it fun. I'm sorry, I'm so far over here. This is a first one. Off to work on editing later. And now I have one last thing here, because I think that marketing should be fun and should be full of wonder. So I'm going to go back to here, and actually we will get the screen away, and don't blink here, because this is the big finale. I'd like to thank the Chamber of Commerce for this opportunity, for getting Kate and I, welcoming us so much into this community, getting us started here in Delaware. And a little bit of wonder, a little bit of leave them wanting more. And then this. So thank you. And if I'm sure I've gone so long, but any questions are of course welcome.
Thank you. It was very informative.
Thank you. A lot of great information. Now we need to take it out and run with it.
Yes, thank you.
It's complex. If I just said, okay, you do X, Y, and Z, and this will work, that depends on each company. And I'm so serious on some companies, as much as I would regret to say it, don't need to advertise today. They need to look internally and work out their operational problem. And then when they really feel like, and sometimes people don't have the luxury, sometimes they do need to advertise today while they work out their operational problem. But if you put something in an ad that's false or a promise that cannot be fulfilled, you're actually paying money to broadcast that you don't have it together. And it's a vicious circle. It's a vicious circle. And so I think that zoning in Dover is difficult. So I've heard. The chamber, if it had a much more easier to read sign along 13, would be way raise awareness. Whenever I drive past the chamber and a bunch of other businesses on 13, I go, if I didn't know you were there, I wouldn't know you were there. It's hard to know what you don't know. And that would be something I would say on that. But if there's another thing that is correct each time, though, just typing out your name is not the same as a logo. Every company should have a logo, even if it's just the font that you use each time. There needs to be consistency. You need to have colors that are your colors that you use every time. It will get boring. People say, oh God, all this looks the same. Well, it needs to look the same. Figure out what you like. And, design templates, even like figure out that on a flyer, it's always set up a certain way, and then go with that. And you can tweak it, but the hospital client that I've talked about in this, prior to my coming, their marketing person it could be construed as a brand, but every billboard and print ad was a different color. They were having a blast designing all these different colors. They were putting their logo really small at the bottom. And it came out in a company-wide meeting that it was actually the CFO of the company complimented our ads because they said, I can know that it's one of our ads. I know it's one of our billboards even before I'm close enough to read it. And even though we had been doing that subconsciously, a light bulb went off in my head and I'm like, wow, they knew it was our ad before they could even read it. That's a good thing. So any other questions? Well, I know we're way over. I appreciate the opportunity, and so does Kate. And our cats Tina and Hazel, and our dog Sparky.
Thank you.
So, Cindy, do you want me to hit end?
She's using sign language. I don't think she can hear. Being an interpreter, I pick stuff up like that.
I think she nodded her head. It hit end. All right. Well, thank you, everyone. I appreciate it. And sorry I went so long here, but it's time flies when you're having fun. So thank you.
Thank you.